Hi, I'm Kip Bradley with Writerly Talk. Last week I mentioned the big publishers are corrupt and rotten. I honestly think the whole system should be set on fire, the smoldering ruins salted, and replaced with something that is more responsive than markets, designed on the idea of promotion by merit, and similar to what we see in academic literature. Today, though, I'm going to talk about one of the mechanisms of their corruption, the tyranny of grammar. If you listen to anyone who gives advice on how to get published by a big house, the first advice will always be about grammatical correctness. We are told that if your grammar isn't perfect, no one will pay the manuscript any heed. On the surface, it makes sense. Grammar is, we are told, the rules of writing. Still, from another perspective, grammar is easy to fix so long as the manuscript is not unreadable. It's procedural. It's spelling and punctuation, after all. If grammar were value neutral, this would not be a big deal, but grammar is loaded with context. Some people are taught grammars while others are not. Overwhelmingly, proper grammar is taught to well-to-do students. It is a skill taught to white, middle class, and richer kids. Children of color and poor students are far, far less likely to be taught the nuances of grammar. As a result, poor people, especially if they are people of color, who often have rotten access to education, are far, far less likely to have their manuscripts accepted by publishers. It's racist and it's classist. It is also foolish. Grammar is the least interesting thing about good writing. Few people read a book and go, gosh, that was amazing grammar. Good grammar is invisible. But because grammar is prioritized above everything else in writing, since it is the first gate through which a writer must pass, it eliminates everyone who didn't have a good education. Every other element of storytelling, plot, characterization, authentic voice, message, euphony, all of that is subservient to a minor procedural skill. You can't even tell me that impedes a professional reader very much. A few extreme cases aside, if we can get high school students to go through one of the Canterbury Tales, certainly professional readers can slog through non-standard grammars in the interest of, not being racist and classist assholes. Which leads me to believe the purpose of this prioritization of grammar above everything else has a covert purpose, that it is about denying access to certain groups of people without appearing racist and classist. No, I'm not rejecting this manuscript because you're a poor black man writing with an authentic voice from a poor community without educational opportunities, but because you've got bad grammar. It's a good cover story by creating a standard of professionalism that appears objective, even though the rules of grammar are constructs of well-educated white men who also happen to run all the big publishing houses. Well, you create a standard that seems objective, then you can use that to eliminate anyone you want. It becomes coincidence that eliminates everybody but, well-off white people and a few people of color who can convincingly perform in that style of writing. Worse, since the public isn't privy to the state of manuscripts that are accepted, we've got no way to check their commitment to grammar. It could be a lie. I have seen a few manuscripts as given to publishers which were accepted, and they were not examples of grammatical excellence. To my eyes, it appears that once you're in the system, the rules no longer apply, which means they're not rules. Grammar is a useful excuse to say no to anyone publishers don't like, which should surprise no one. The rules don't apply to successful people isn't exactly news, nor is it unique to publishing. It's still worth talking about, though, that publishers, editors, and agents are a bunch of fucking liars who change the goalposts to suit their convenience, and do so in ways that eliminate almost all people of color and poor people. It doesn't say very much about writers either that we accept the tyranny of grammar. While there is classicism in other arts, by and large, most artists accept that people who aren't classically trained can contribute to the field in question, both artistically and monetarily. It would be difficult to say the Ramones were technically amazing musicians, yet they were financially successful and wildly influential artists who continue to exert a considerable influence in rock and roll. The low-budget movie Halloween was made for around $300,000 and is quite crude, but went on to make $75 million at the box office and has spawned something like 10 or 11 sequels. The style of storytelling is with us today, continuing to produce interesting and profitable movies. Technical profession is not necessary for either artistic excellence or profitability. It's leaving money on the tables, dude. It isn't just right, it's good business. But while other arts have ways for people who don't fit in, who are deemed lowbrow and are usually low budget, to succeed, writing mostly does not. Grammatical excellence to the point of requiring perfection is considered by even indie writers as essential. There are no options other than great grammar, despite it being a rather low skill. It doesn't have to be this way. We could choose to allow writers with interesting stories to tell, most of them poor people and people of color, to have their say. Not only is grammar the least interesting part of any story, it is also the only part of writing that can be done by someone who isn't the author. Sparkling dialogue, deep characterization, compelling and coherent plots, moving and trenchant message, these are the important parts of writing, not grammar. Grammar can be fixed by unpaid interns. It is an insult to the arts and the people whose only sin it is not having learned the bizarre, contradiction-filled world of English grammar as a youth. It's unnecessary, racist, and classist. It primarily exists as a tool to discredit the wrong kinds of writer with a veneer of objectivity and respectability. That's the tyranny of grammar. It can and should be stopped. That's it for this Writerly Talk. I'm Kit Bradley. As ever, like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button. Everyone take care of yourselves out there, and I'll see you soon.